Okay, welcome back to Public Trust Review after a short hiatus over the holidays. I'm Kirk Vartan and I'm with Dr. Tom Shanks, and we're going to get back into the program. And today's program is called Egregious Violations of Ethics Code. And we will jump right into a quick review of the past. We've done 19 episodes over the past few months. We're looking at everything through an ethics lens, looking at the code of behavior for council members and candidates. And the goal was to inform voters about candidates' ethical actions or lack thereof.
So now we're switching from campaigns to the regular work of the council. And we'll be looking at how well the council meets the promises that they've made in the city's code of ethics. And we're going to ask, does this behavior align with the code? And does it look like that to a reasonable person? And our goal is to inform the public on how the council does the people's business, so the public can hold the council accountable. And today what we're going to be doing is looking at the February 7th council meeting, the last council meeting, in which there were multiple egregious violations of the city's ethics code. And we'll identify and explain what those issues were and are. We said the Code of Ethics and Values has a set of standards. Specifically, this is the set of standards for how decisions should be made. And particularly, we want to focus on number 2. How does the council treat the people who come before it? Are they treated equally, equitably, and are they treated respectfully?
And just a bit of background on me, because this is going to focus on interactions that I've had with the council, but I attend council meetings regularly. I have done so for the past about 20 years now, 18 to 20 years. I speak at agenda items and during presentations often. I'm part of the community here. I advocate for local land use policies and placemaking and smart growth. We have a worker-owned business here in the city of Santa Clara. And in February of 2020, Mayor Gilmore appointed me as a special advisor. So that's just a little bit of background. This next clip we're going to show you, this is you might have seen this. This was from, I think, episode 17 that we did. It's Councilmember Park was responding to something that I said and directly communicating with me from the dais. And we'll just play this just for reference.
In response to Kirk Vartan, who was a self-proclaimed assistant or advisor to Mayor Lisa Gilmore.
And the reason we're showing this, and Tom, maybe talk about the ethics issues with that specific thing, just briefly before we get on to the next scene.
Yeah, we're showing this because in order to understand why the piece of February 7th was so bad, you need to understand that this was something that was it built from this episode that you're seeing right here in front of you to February 7th. So this is an ongoing problem that Councilmember Park has with Kirk Vartan. And the thing that's important is it's not just Kirk, right? This could apply to any business person, any individual who comes before the council who a council member may not like.
Yeah, and in this, again, for just the context here, what I'm going to show here is I attend council meetings and I set up my own video rig. And what you're going to see, we have a split screen here. So on the right hand side is the City of Santa Clara's standard feed. So if you go on Facebook or YouTube or watch it live on channel 15, you will see what's going to be in the right hand frame, or at least a portion of what's on the right hand frame. On the left-hand frame is my video rig that I have set up there. So you can actually see the entire council, which you typically do not see unless you're actually sitting in the council chambers. So this is just showing kind of a split screen. I've synced the time so they are the same timeline. Thank you. Oh, and I should say, I had just made a public comment on an agenda item. So that's the setup for this. So I just made a comment and I was just concluding my comments right here. Thank you.
Should buzz. You should buzz. Thank you very much. Special advisor to the mayor. I feel very special.
Yeah.
And before you jump in on this, It's important to note, this is the first council meeting where Mayor Lisa Gilmore was not present. She was had a medical issue on medical leave for this particular council meeting, and the vice mayor then leads the council meeting, takes over where the mayor would sit and runs the meeting. So this is his first time as the vice mayor in this particular role, conducting the meeting.
Yeah, and you can see that he's already beginning to mock what Kirk says. And every time he says special assistant to the mayor, it's dripping with sarcasm.
Yeah, and isn't that special? Like, that's just kind of like digging it.
Yeah.
And the reason the split screen here is to show the Councilmember Becker's reaction to that. It's, laughing at it. It just part of the dynamic that's in the council chamber. This next scene, again, the split screen. This is towards the end of the meeting, just to set up the timeline. This is a 4.5 hour meeting. It's about 11:30 at night. I'm literally the only one in the council chambers. I hadn't spoken on any agenda item for at least, I don't know how long, but it was for a while. I was just sitting in the chambers. And again, this is split screen with Vice Mayor Park in the front. And on the left side is my video rig that I have of the council chamber, and I just zoomed in on Councilmember Becker's reactions in real time to what's going on. And so we'll play this. This is a little over a minute.
I also note that there were a lot of book events at elementary schools, and I see that the special advisor to the mayor is here. I really appreciated the thought that you put in to getting books for the council members. Well, not to the people in particular, but to the seats. And I found a book that I thought would entertain the position of special advisor to the mayor, both now and whoever may take the role in the future. It's a book it's originally called All My Friends Are Dead, but that seemed a little dark, so I changed it. I have all these Post-it notes. It says, All My Friends Are Termed Out. And I thought that this would be good. You see, it says, it's kind of fun. It starts with, all my friends are termed out. 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 Most of my friends are termed out. What? Oh, now all my friends are termed out. And all my friends are end tables. I mean, that's a tree talking. So I would like to keep this for the office of special advisor to the mayor. I don't know if there's no other reports. Then I'll take this to the city manager executive director reports. Tentative meeting agenda calendar, TMAC.
So this was right before the meeting ended, and it's a short period of video, but it is one of the most egregious violations of the ethics code that I've seen in any city in the last 30 years. To understand why it is so bad, it's not a joke. There's no place for an attack on a resident, on a business owner, on someone who comes before the council. There's no reason ever for somebody to attack a public person from the dais. That's one thing. It violates every single one of the city's core values. It is not respectful. It is absolutely inappropriate. It's not professional. It doesn't communicate what the city wants the council to communicate, namely, we are here to do the public's business. That has nothing to do with the public's business. That is Council Member Park's personal agenda that he puts in at the end of the meeting. And clearly it is not any sort of treating somebody with respect, which the code defines as treat somebody the way you treat an honored colleague or someone you invite to your house for dinner. If this is the way that the vice mayor thinks respect is, then the city has a serious problem, and it does have a serious problem with this particular piece of video. Also, because it was planned. This is not spur of the moment. This is not, this is the first meeting that he ran. This is something that he planned to do. The Post-it notes make that very clear, that he planned to do when he could. And the books that he's talking about is that Kirk had sent getting to yes to the seats of the council, which, by the way, has a ground rule that this council should practice, which says comment on issues, not attack people. And that's what's going on here. It's personal attack. And if you look at the city's code of behavioral standards, it violates a number of them, particularly the one that says that you should not consider other people to be enemies who disagree with you. You should not weaken public debate by belittling or mocking someone or their viewpoint, and demonizing anybody who disagrees with you, with your personal conviction. All of that comes together into this, and it is egregious.
And just to close on this, and we'll wrap up this episode with, it's just like during the election cycle in our last programs. If somebody says something or does something inappropriate, you should feel compelled or obligated to step in and say something. I just wanted to point out here that I was literally the only person in the audience at that point. I was the only person in council chambers at 11:30 at night, other than staff. And the city attorney was there, and the council members were there. Councilmember Jane was not there; he was remote. But Councilmember Watanabe and Mayor Gilmore were out on medical, and so it was Councilmember Becker, Councilmember Hardy, Councilmember Chahal, and Vice Mayor Park. And while this was going on, other than laughing at the jokes and putting his head in his hands and laughing at what was going on, no one did or said anything. No one condemned it. No one stopped it. No one said, hey, that's enough, or nothing like that. And to me,
there's no excuse for that. It doesn't matter that this was the end of a very long meeting. And, at any moment, someone can do this on the council, and it will destroy public trust. And every council member has an obligation to stop the harm that another council member is doing. And the fact that Councilmember Becker is laughing at this means he's understanding exactly what's going on, and he thinks it's funny, and it's not. It's inappropriate, and it is egregious for the behavior of a council member. This is not role model behavior, which is what everyone has the right to expect from the council.
And the things, if you want to get to the behavioral standards, there's an easy way to get there through the site. You can just pause the video and see. You just go right to the mayor and council.
Yeah, and this is worth reading for all of the public to read, and it's also worth the council reading those things again to understand what the promises have been made to Santa Clara for the residents and business owners for the last 20 years. They have not read that recently.
Yeah. There was something you asked before you even started the program.
I asked Kirk how it made him feel. Because one of the problems here is it puts a chilling effect on somebody who's going to get up in front of that council and speak.
Yeah, and I thought about it for a minute. It was right before the show started, so I didn't have time to process it too much. But I've dealt with abusive councils before, the prior councils back in the late 2000s. And I won't have to name the ones, but they were very chilling, very aggressive things. And so I've toughened up to that. I've come to expect something like that. I haven't experienced this in a while. So it's kind of bizarre to see that someone who I was an advocate with, like Vice Mayor Park, Kevin, we used to be side by side on the lines fighting the old council regimes, the old guard, if you will, doing the exact same things that he is now doing, which is probably the most disturbing thing for me personally, because we were advocates and activists together. And even with Councilmember Jane and Councilmember Hardy, we were on the front lines. We were, dealing with things. They helped support the barracks stuff that I was doing, which turned into agrihood. They were all on board with these things, and we were all aligned as community activists. So that to me is very hard. I felt like, I feel like it's like us little crowd of like kind of bullies up there with the power. Like I don't have any power in the council chambers. They have all of it. And especially when you're in that mayoral seat, that vice mayor that Park was in, he has the power because he runs the meeting and he can say whatever he wants. And I can't say anything. I just sat there. So that's how it made me feel. I mean, it's not going to stop me from speaking personally, but it could very easily stop someone from ever participating in a council meeting again.
And where the city attorney is wrong is this was not part of any agenda item. It comes up when in the item that's reports from the council about meetings that they attended. And at the end of that, Vice Mayor Park sticks this thing in. It's not an agendized item, which makes it a violation of the Brown Act. Yeah, and I think that's important to note. But what you said, it makes you stop and think, do I want to be a target of these people if I go and speak before them, which is everyone's right and is a necessary thing for every council, because they may get a different idea, a new idea. But that only happens if you respect and listen.
All right. Well, again, thank you. Sorry, this episode went a little bit long. We try and keep our episodes closer to 5 minutes. We hit the 15-minute mark, I think.
Yeah,
Thanks for bearing with us if you're with us.
Yeah.
And we'll see you. We're going to try and do these on a more regular basis, not as often as weekly like we did in the past, but we will try and be a little bit more diligent about being on a more regular basis. So thanks for watching.